At 7:12 in the morning, Mark Mitchell tried to wake his wife. "Laura, your alarm is going off." She didn't move. He nudged her shoulder again. Still nothing. At first, it seemed like she was just sleeping deeply, but something about the room suddenly felt wrong. Laura was breathing, but she wouldn't wake up. Within the next hour, doctors would discover that something inside her brain had ruptured during the night, and unless they stopped it quickly, the pressure building inside her skull could shut down the most vital centers of the human body. Laura Mitchell was 31 years old. She worked as an elementary school teacher and was known among colleagues as the kind of person who always arrived early and left late. Her life was busy but stable. She and her husband lived in a quiet suburb, and most evenings followed the same routine: dinner together, a little television, and then preparing for the next day. The night before the incident felt completely ordinary. Laura came home from work tired but cheerful. She cooked dinner, graded a stack of homework assignments, and talked with her husband about their plans for the weekend. Nothing about that evening hinted at the medical emergency that was quietly unfolding. But around 10 p.m., Laura mentioned something small: a headache. At first, the headache didn't seem serious. Laura described it as pressure behind her eyes. Not sharp, not unbearable, just persistent. Her husband suggested she take something for it. Laura swallowed 2 over-the-counter pain tablets and shrugged it off. "Probably just stress," she said. She brushed her teeth, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. It would be the last thing she remembered. When the alarm clock rang the next morning, Laura didn't react. Mark assumed she was exhausted. He tried again. "Laura, you're going to be late." Still nothing. That's when he noticed something unsettling. Her breathing sounded strange. Slow. Deep. Almost mechanical. He shook her shoulder harder. Her body moved slightly, but she didn't wake. The moment stretched into something terrifying. Within minutes, he called emergency services. Paramedics entered the bedroom and immediately began assessing Laura. Her pulse was present. Her breathing continued. But her level of consciousness was extremely low. One of the paramedics tested her response by applying pressure to her fingernail. She barely reacted. They quickly calculated her Glasgow Coma Scale score. It was 7 out of 15. In medical terms, that meant severe brain dysfunction. Laura was placed on a stretcher and rushed to the hospital. Inside the ambulance, the team monitored her vital signs. And something about them made the paramedics uneasy. Her blood pressure was climbing. Her heart rate was slowing. This combination can signal something dangerous: increasing pressure inside the skull. In the emergency department, doctors began working through possible explanations. Could this be a drug overdose? Blood tests were ordered immediately. The toxicology screen came back negative. Could it be an infection? Her temperature was normal. Could it be low blood sugar? Her glucose levels were completely stable, yet Laura remained deeply unconscious. Then one of the physicians noticed something concerning during the neurological exam. Laura's pupils were reacting differently to light. One pupil was slightly larger than the other. To a neurologist, that small detail can signal something alarming: pressure on the brain. Doctors immediately ordered an emergency CT scan. Minutes later, Laura's brain images appeared on the screen. The radiologist studying them fell silent. Blood was visible around the base of the brain, a large amount of it. This pattern had a name: subarachnoid hemorrhage. Somewhere inside Laura's brain, a blood vessel had ruptured. Blood was rapidly filling the spaces surrounding the brain tissue, and the pressure inside her skull was increasing. But doctors still needed to know why it happened. Further imaging revealed the answer: a tiny balloon-like bulge in one of the brain's arteries, a cerebral aneurysm. For years, the weakened vessel wall had slowly expanded under the pressure of circulating blood. Completely silent, no symptoms, until sometime during the night, the vessel finally burst. The headache Laura felt before bed had likely been the first warning sign. Neurosurgeons were called immediately. If the aneurysm bled again, the chances of survival would drop dramatically. Laura was rushed into surgery. Using delicate instruments, surgeons located the ruptured artery deep within the brain. Then they placed a tiny metal surgical clip across the neck of the aneurysm. The clip permanently sealed the weak spot in the vessel wall. The bleeding stopped, but the next few days would determine whether Laura survived.
Laura spent several days in the intensive care unit. Doctors monitored her brain pressure around the clock. Slowly, the swelling inside her skull began to decrease. Then, on the fourth day, Laura opened her eyes. She looked confused, disoriented. The last thing she remembered was lying down with a headache. But she was alive. Over the following weeks, Laura underwent rehabilitation and gradually returned to her normal life. A tiny metal clip now rests inside her brain, silently preventing another rupture. Medical explanation. A cerebral aneurysm is a weak area in the wall of a brain artery. Over time, the vessel bulges outward like a small balloon. Most aneurysms cause no symptoms, but if they rupture, blood spills into the space surrounding the brain, causing a subarachnoid hemorrhage. Patients often describe the first symptom as the worst headache of my life. Without immediate medical treatment, the condition can become fatal within hours.
Most headaches are harmless. Stress, fatigue, dehydration. But occasionally, a headache can be the first warning sign of something far more serious. For Laura, one ordinary evening ended with a medical emergency that unfolded silently while she slept, and her survival depended entirely on how quickly doctors recognized the danger. If you enjoy exploring real medical mysteries and unusual hospital cases, consider subscribing for more stories like this one. Because sometimes the most dangerous medical conditions begin with symptoms that seem completely ordinary.
Thank you for tuning in to MedLore. Stay safe.